The main idea for nullables were two things. 1. Null safety. 2. Release the pain that null check caused, and I mean every null check. Those that were written and those that were not. Nullables were introduced as a major feature of C#2 in 2005, and we just had to wait an additional 14 years when Microsoft also introduced something called nullable reference types. These fancy words brought happiness, brightness, and most importantly, no safety to the .NET community. Before nullables, when you wrote a code, it could look something like this. In this code, I just have a message, which I set as a null, which I pass to the log method, where we want to print out to the console the uppercase version of the message. And of course, when I run this code, it says, "Motherfucker!" And then you go back to your code and write a null check. And then Microsoft decided to end this never-ending pain. And this was a real issue, because these null checks sometimes could be big.
Very big.
Very?
Very big.
Or you could easily forget about the null check, which could end up killing your software. Or maybe you added a null check for such place where the variable was never null. So the situation wasn't easy. But starting from .NET 6, by default nullables are enabled, which results that such code I showed you will tell, "Hey brother, this shouldn't be null, because the parameter is not marked as null." And the thing is that, as you can see, it's still possible to pass null value to a method which expects non-nullable parameter. And if people have the opportunity to pass a null value like this, trust me, they will do it. But the story doesn't end here, because fortunately Microsoft thought about how to guarantee to not forget about the warning, and I highly recommend to use this approach. You can add an additional line to your project file, which is this warnings as errors nullable. This one line changed the warnings to a compilation error, so if someone makes this mistake, I mean trying to pass a null value where it's not allowed, he won't be able to compile the code. And this is a really great feature. But the thing is that if someone wants to ignore this warning, or in my case error, then if he writes an exclamation mark, as you can see, the error magically disappears. And those people who do this on production code have a special place in hell, I bet you. This is not just a technical issue, but a moral question. But still there is one place for me where it's acceptable to use this exclamation mark. And this place is the test. For example, it can happen that in your test the input doesn't make sense, so you just pass a null value. And if you don't put this exclamation mark, you will see this ugly underscore in your code. But don't get me wrong, by default it's a great feature that Visual Studio shows us that there is an issue. But if I would leave like this here, people will also skip the other warnings, not just this. Anyway, let's talk about what you can do if by default this feature was not enabled for your project and you wanna use it. When you change your project file like this to enable nullable feature and set the warnings as error, you will probably have a lot of compilation error. In that case, instead of using this fucking exclamation mark, put this hashtag nullable disabled to all your files, so it will skip the check for your files. I think this is also kind of a common practice these days. And you may ask now, but what's the point to add this nullable feature when we just ignore it everywhere? Son. From this point, whenever you create a new class, by default this nullable feature will be enabled, because you just disabled it for existing classes. So for the new classes, you must follow this rule. And the most important step comes here. You can't just randomly remove these nullable features here. You need to enable from the low level to the high level. So for example, here we have a service class and a repository class. The repository class is used in the service class. So what you need to do first is to remove the nullable disable from the repository class and fix the code. Then do the same in the service class. In this example, if you would first change the service class, you would miss the information whether the return value of the low-level class is nullable or not. And this can lead to a big chain of problems. If you like the video, like, subscribe, and watch the next one to become a better developer.